Did you think you were going to be able to buy a house? You may be able to. And if you already bought a house, you're going to know exactly where I'm going with this. I never thought that I was going to be able to buy a house. Are you crazy, girl? Buy a house. This time a year ago, I was literally strapped financially. I was trying to figure out what to do with my life. I was living with family. They were driving me crazy. And I was trying to figure out, what am I going to do with myself in my 30s? I can't live like this in my 40s. And it was driving me insane. I knew I wanted something of my own. I knew I wanted to get out of Los Angeles, which I love my hometown, born and raised in LA, but I knew it was time to go. And rent was high. It was almost $4,000 a month. It was so high. My mortgage now is under $1,500. I live in Southern Georgia, and I'm about less than 2 hours outside of Atlanta. But let me tell you something. Finding a house is a journey. It is a process. And the only thing I can tell you to do is to, baby, put your seatbelt on and strap on for the ride, because, oh my gosh, it is very crazy searching for homes. You're going to start with your typical. You're going to start with your realtor.com, your Zillows. You're going to start with your real estate agent that's going to have listings that may not have gone fully public yet. You're going to really dig deep into narrowing down the homes, the cities, the areas that you want to buy a home. If you have kids, you're going to want to try to find something that's close to the schools, like the best schools in the areas, right? And you're going to try to find something that's affordable, heavy on the affordable, because you don't want to be house broke. And you want to be very careful and cognizant of the home that you're looking at. And when you not only hire a home inspector, but also make sure you visit the home. Because what I did was, since I was in California and I was looking at homes in Georgia, I had to start the process by looking at homes online. I used Zillow a lot. I used Zillow a lot. I used realtor.com. I had my real estate agent who's a family friend. And so we would just pull up listings all the time. And basically, I tried to narrow down the cities and the states that I wanted to be in, because I wasn't locked in on Georgia yet. I looked at New Jersey. I looked at Virginia. I looked at St. Louis. I looked at New York, like upstate New York. I really wanted a Victorian home. So I was looking at areas that have Victorian homes. Don't judge me, y'all. And I knew I was going to start off in like a mid to small size town. And I was okay with that because I had been living in Los Angeles and then a few years in Atlanta, going to college. And I was okay with not being in a big town. I knew I wanted like enough size land to have like a small farm, or like at least I can grow chickens type of vibes, and have some raised garden beds. And I was going to be happy. Okay. Did I get a Victorian home? No, I have like your standard colonial box style home. It is remodeled. And then I also remodeled it some more. As you see, it's black, and it's all you guys saw in the other video previews of it. It had your millennial grays and your LVP flooring and stuff everywhere. So yes, upstairs has carpet, which I don't like. Okay. My puppy, my dog, had a field day with that. So you can't see it. I definitely had to shampoo the carpet the first couple times we got here. I think she was just really nervous about the move. So she started potting everywhere, which she never does. But you have to consider things like that when you're moving, right? If you have a pet, they get into like this nervous thing. So things can happen that don't necessarily happen before. But same thing with kids and, your spouses. If you're married or anything, you have to consider where your work may be. You may be remote. You may not be remote. So travel is a thing. For me, I work remote. I am 100% remote. My company was remote pre-COVID. So I wasn't working with them COVID, but they have always been remote. So that's the good thing about mine. But basically, it took a lot of work. I had to fly out here for a weekend with the family members and a family friend. It was just me. So I flew to Columbus, Georgia. I have cousins out here, so I stayed with them. I literally just stayed on their couch for a weekend. I was like, hey, I'm coming down. I'm going to be here for 2-3 days, and we're going to go look at houses. And so our family friend is his best friend. So we went looking at houses, and we probably looked at 30 houses that weekend, which is a lot, which is a lot. We were going through, I printed out a bunch of houses that I had seen and had my eyeballs on, that was in the spending range that I wanted to have for a house. And I don't know why, I just knew I was going to be able to find a house under 200,000. I know That sounds crazy in 2025, but I was looking at the market at the time and it was a pretty good market. And I was like, I don't have to get a $400,000 to $800,000 home. I could afford that, but I don't have to get that. I know I could find a needle in the haystack. And did I find a needle in the haystack? We had found another house that was on sale that we were all in love with. It was 119,000, y'all. I kid you not. The lady wasn't trying to move, but she said her mom was sick, and so she was going to have to sell her house to go stay with her mom and take care of her mom. The house was flawless. It was amazing. She had taken care of this house. It was so nice. It was out here as well. When I tell you I put an offer in, like we didn't even leave the house yet. I was in there trying to put an offer in. We got beat out by a cash offer. I'm so mad. And I'm so mad to this day because I just knew I was gonna get that house. And her backyard was huge and it was fenced in. I don't have a fence. That's the only downside to this house. I have to get a fence. She was fenced in. She had a big old backyard. The home was so cute. And I remember we all were like, I love it. I love it. And I was like, I love the price tag. $100,000. My mortgage would have been like $800. I would have been like super house rich at the time, but it's okay. Everything happens for a reason. I try not to think about it, but I think about it sometimes and go, I almost really got lucky there. But the house that I ended up with was 175. That's the offer that I put in and they took it. So the bank was selling it. It was a foreclosure. It's a 3-bedroom, technically 3 bedrooms. So it's 3 bedroom, 2 full baths, 1 half bath. So I have a downstairs cute little powder room and then I have 2 full bathrooms with showers and everything upstairs. And then all the bedrooms are upstairs. And I have a dining room. I have a pantry. I have a storage thing under my stairs that almost gives like Harry Potter's bedroom. It's huge. And that's kind of what I use as like an extra storage space. One day though, when I put my fence up and I move everything outside into the shed that I bought that I have not installed yet, I'm going to use that as my dog's little doggy apartment so she can have her own little apartment. Okay, don't judge me. It's going to get a whole makeover. It's already in my mind, and so it's going to happen. No time soon, though. That's going to take a while. But buying a home is a process. It was important to come down here and look at the homes because online is very different than what you see in person. There was one home in particular I was absolutely in love with. It was like a cottage style home. It was brick on the outside. I'll never forget it had an arched door, which I love arched doors. And I just knew this was going to be the house for me. And if I remember, it was supposed to be like 125, I think. We went to see that house and nothing worked. The cabinets, the windows were all painted shut. The door was all crusty looking and rusted and it barely opened. Like it was a lot that you could tell they just slapped paint on to hide a lot of problems in the house. Was it collectively a beautiful home? Yes. Did it have a lot of issues? Like you couldn't tell from the videos and pictures that they uploaded until you got into that house. I was like, this is why this house has been sitting on the market for so long. And there were a lot of houses like that when we went to see them in person. They're not supposed to touch up pictures and stuff of the house, but once we went to see some of these houses and actually toured them, you could tell that they had definitely touched up the pictures for a lot of the postings. And so that's just a pointer I want to give to you all. Also, when it comes to credit scores and history and all of that, make sure your credit is pretty good. You really only need like I think for most loans, they say like a 620 or higher. Try to get the highest credit score you can possible. Do not make any major buys. Don't buy a car in the middle of your finance process. Do not buy a car. Do not buy anything that would require them to run your credit. Do not open new credit cards. Do not do any major purchases because that's going to put a change on your credit report. And all of that has to be listed when they do your financial package, when you fill out your mortgage loan. Okay. Long story short, do not do anything like that. You're going to drive your mortgage lender crazy and you may end up causing your mortgage loan to actually be denied because you're doing too much. And it changes your income like ratio. They do this calculation thing when they try to figure out how much debt to like income you have. And basically, can you afford the house if all else fails to make the mortgage payments? And that's what they're going to base all that off of. And so, yeah, it takes time. Everybody knows about the down payment. Most places and loans and stuff, you can get a 3.5% like average on your down payment. So my down payment, was like $8,000, but I think with closing and stuff total, it was like $15,000, which I had. But I ended up not having to pay my closing costs because, again, my real estate agent negotiated the seller, which was the bank, to include the closing costs. So that's something that a lot of people don't discuss. Closing costs. Closing costs are basically another down payment. Okay. And that's another percentage. Just double the amount of what your down payment was going to be and expect that for closing costs. Okay. It is not guaranteed that your closing costs get covered. That doesn't happen all the time. Um, you can also negotiate points. Like there's a point system, and they can put points towards this payment, these payments, so that can negotiate down depending on your income. I didn't qualify because I made California income, so I couldn't qualify for a lot of these grants and down payment programs because you got to make under a certain amount, and I made over that amount. I know. And so if you make like on average between like 65 and under, like 65K annually and under, you usually can qualify for some type of down payment assistance program where you can apply for those grants and then they'll help you cover or like either in full or a portion of the down payment. So you may only have to come up with closing costs or vice versa. So just look that up. There's also the USDA like loan program, depending on where you're at. If you're kind of like in a more rural area, you can also apply for that and that'll help you with some payments, but your house has to be within a certain zone and everything. So just pay attention to that. Buying property and land is different because you have to make sure that you can connect like water and gas lines and stuff to those areas. And a lot of people will buy land and then they forget that part, or like certain lands can't be built upon because of zoning reasons and stuff. So you have to make sure certain things you research through the county, through the city, etc., with your real estate agent to help you and make sure that you can actually develop on that land. Like even if it's just putting your mobile home on something, you have to connect to something at some point. You may not be able to, and you may just have land that you really can't do much on, except use it as farmland for cows or something. So that's something that you just should take away from this. Make sure your credit is decent. Make sure you have your down payment. Make sure you have your closing costs. Check and make sure that you have any programs. You can check online. You can check with your local banks. You can check with different mortgage lenders to see who has down payment assistance programs and grants. See if you qualify depending on your income and salaries. And then also try to see if you could save up a little bit for like emergency funds. When I first got here, I didn't have any major issues with the house, but we did have two wasp nests that had built themselves up. You know, they can build their nests up in like a week, like really fast. So in the midst of us like touring, in the midst of me buying the house, there were two wasp nests on the side and they were crazy around it. They were flying everywhere. And so I had to call somebody to come handle that, but it was like, that was like $75. Somebody had to come and knock it down for me. And then, we found the second one and then he had to come back again. So that was $75 twice. And then it seemed like there were wasps still coming and I couldn't figure out why they were flying by like one of my like water things outside where it rains and it comes down. So I hired a company and that was $160 to come out and like clean the gutters. And he was like, my gutters were clean, but there was probably somewhere that was holding like a moisture, like water. And so they get attracted to that. And ever since I did that, they haven't been back. So it's important to make sure that you are on top of different things like that. I buy like pest control stuff for the house. I do have a pest company that comes like quarterly and they spray inside and outside the house, but I also go to like Walmart or something or um, whatever that sells like pest control. You could pay spray outside the house and on your grass. So I have stuff that you attach to the water hose and then you can like water your grass to keep like excessive pests at bay, like your ticks. If you're not careful, you'll end up with a billion spiders. Okay, so you spray it and it keeps them like the numbers down. All right, so you're not getting bit up. Fleas like to stay in grass, so just all of that. You don't think about it. People will tell you like, don't spray your grass, but like, no, spray your grass, but like spray it within reason. I still have bees and carpenter bees and stuff that come around. I do grow in my raised garden bed, so I do attract pollinators and stuff. But now I don't have like an entire wasp nest chasing me, and I don't have a bunch of spiders all over my patio. I don't have ticks and fleas biting me everywhere. You know, they're like gone, or at least they're not bothering me. Okay, so I just keep them at bay by doing that every couple months. I don't do it all the time, but I do it every couple months. And so it's just like upkeeps like that for your house. I have an account with like different electrical companies that come out and they do like servicing to make sure that your like electrical panels are good, that my water heater is good. I have to actually contact them because it's that time of the year for them to come check on the water heater. They just sent a reminder, and that's usually like covered in your membership package. So I have that. I was paying a company to come out and mow my grass and lawn. Like I have a lawnmower and stuff, but I haven't put the lawnmower together. So I do have a guy that was significantly cheaper, and he does an amazing job at cutting my grass. Like my grass looks beautiful. It's like the best lawn on the block. Literally, people go crazy for my lawn. So, he's cheap. He charges $60. I give him another 20 on top of that just because. And so I pay him $80 once a month. He comes and he cuts my grass, or like sometimes twice a month if my grass just goes crazy. I have Bermuda grass. If for those of you that are grass heads, I have Bermuda grass. There's different types of grass varieties. And then, yeah, like you just have to learn to take care of your house. So buying a house, it's a process. It didn't take me long to buy the house because I was pretty much ready. Like I had taken in mind what I needed to have. I made sure my credit was good. My cars were paid down at the time. They're not now, but like they were paid down at the time. My income was great. I had got the grant program to help with the closing and moving costs. I had my seller negotiated the closing costs, fees incorporated into that. And we got really, really, really lucky on my house. We got really lucky on the house that I ended up with. And I stayed under my goal, which was to find the cheapest house possible that was like brand new. And it's basically what happened. I ended up with a house that's pretty much brand new, completely remodeled, has AC and everything. And it's a beautiful home, 2-story, and it's for under 200 grand. What? My mortgage is literally less than $1,500 a month. I was paying 3 times that pretty much to get an apartment in California. So yes, home buying doesn't have to be complicated. It can be if you have, certain financial hits, or, maybe you have like an eviction on your record. Things will be slightly different for you, but it's not impossible. I think the hardest part is people just not being prepared, or like, again, they know about down payment and they're like, oh, I have a big down payment saved up, and then they forget about closing costs, or they forget about something else, and they don't know about it. So the most important thing is finding a really good lender. And also do know that once you get your mortgage lender, they're going to change. Okay. And they literally, like, once you get your loan and you move in, like every couple, maybe, I don't know, every couple weeks, every couple months, every couple years, you're going to change mortgage lenders. You're not going to change it. They just like sell a bunch of accounts at a time. And then all of a sudden you'll get a thing in the mail. Now I have an escrow account. I would suggest you have an escrow account because I have not had any of the headaches that other people have had. When you have an escrow account and you pay your mortgage, let's say my mortgage is $1,500 a month. Not all of that is mortgage. My mortgage is technically less than that. Like $300 or $400 of that is escrow. That escrow money sits in that account. That account per month adds up. And during the year, you may have property taxes due. You may have state taxes due, or like your annual taxes. You may have home insurance. Like your home insurance policy comes out once a year. Mine is like $1,600. I think this time it was, let me not lie, it might have been $1,900 this time around because it goes up and down or whatever. It pulls it from your escrow. Okay, so you have the whole like year. If you're paying $400, let's say you're paying $400 a month a year. Mine house is cheap, so it's not going to be crazy expensive. $400 a month times 12, all of that. My home taxes and everything are like $1,000 for the entire year. My home insurance was like $1,900 this time around. There was enough money in there to pull that out. And then if there's excess money, they send you a check and get your money back. So you can take that money and then put it back into the escrow and pay extra. But since mine was literally still extra on top of that, I got like $300 back this time, which was cool because I had just moved in the house. So this was in the first couple months. They had already sent me a check back. It was like, you overpaid on escrow. We have enough to cover like the next state taxes, your home insurance taxes, and the tax after that. And I was like, all right, cool. Thank you. That was great. Thank you for the money. And so that can happen. If you underpay, that's when you start hearing people have these problems. They're not paying enough on their escrow. I'm not really sure how that happens. I think that's pretty much if like their escrow or something like increases all of a sudden on them. I'm pretty sure that's dependent on your state. That's also dependent on if you don't have an escrow account, if you're just like paying out yourself. I could see that being a thing too. But for me, the payment is there. They tell you how much it goes into your principal, how much goes into your escrow, how much goes into whatever else. And it's like categorized, and then you'll get an idea. And then they'll send you like annually or biannually a layout of how much like each payment will be, and if there's going to be excess or short. And so you have an idea of like, all right, I need to come up with such and such money to make sure that I'm not at a short. Or you can pay separately. Like you can go in there and make extra payments, and like you can pay your mortgage and say you got a bonus or something and you want to pay an extra $500. You can go in there. Usually you can log in, click escrow only, and then you can put that towards your escrow to help balance that out. So it's all dependent. I haven't had to do that because usually mine so far has been right on track with the amount that is required. So they just paid the property taxes, and then they just paid my home insurance like the month before. So, and they'll tell you like, we automatically paid it. They get the same information you get. When the state and stuff will still send you like your tax bill in the mail. And then I called them just in case, because right when they sent my home insurance one and paid it off, a week later they changed the lenders again. And then I was like, well, is the new lender going to have the escrow information to like pay the state taxes? Because the state taxes are due like a week or two after that. And I called them, they're like, yeah, they have the same information. And so they let me know a couple of days ago that they paid the property state taxes or whatever for that. So yeah, that's taken care of. That's good. So just these are things you have to consider when buying a home. it it can feel stressful. It can get stressful if you have like flooding. If you're in a flood zone, you have to separately get flood insurance. That's also something that you have to consider. Your regular home insurance will not cover floods. You have to go through FEMA, or there's like two other things. It's usually, I would suggest the FEMA ones, and you have to fill it out through them and get a separate flood insurance thing with them. But you can actually go online and see if your home is in a flood zone, and usually find out that way if you need flood insurance. Most companies are not going to sell you flood insurance if you're not in a flood zone, because you're not going to flood. Like I'm not in a flood zone. I called them. I was like, are you sure? Because I know we get like hurricanes and stuff sometimes, but where I'm at, it literally doesn't flood. So it would have been crazy to pay another like $2,000 for the year for flood insurance, and I didn't need it. So just be cognizant of that when buying a home. Just know where you're buying a property. If you're buying property in Florida, you're for sure most likely going to need some type of flood insurance. So you'll get your home insurance, and then you'll get a separate policy for flood insurance. That's another thing. What else? Make sure your windows are good. Again, we get like fake tornado warnings. One time I thought we were really going to get hit by a tornado, and I was freaking out because I'm from California, and I was like, what do you do? And the wind was going like crazy. It was like 70, 80, 90 mile per hour winds. I was like, is my windows going to hold? And they do. They were okay. I was freaking out though. I'm not going to lie. So just make sure things like that are taken care of. Um, take care of your lawn, take care of your plumbing. If something happens and you start noticing something's acting wonky, get it checked out then. Don't wait till it explodes on you. Don't wait till it gets really, really bad, because then it'll get very, very, very expensive. So just notate that. Okay. Every time you get a little bit of extra money, put that in the savings account for like in case stuff hits the fan. So I really hope that this just quick roundup of just home buying expectations, what it was like for me to buy a home. I don't regret buying a home at all. I love my house. I love my house, and I'm not even done remodeling and changing it. So super excited. I'm just going to do like most interior decorators do, and they take years like fully decorating their home. My goal is to be in a home decor magazine. So we'll see. But yeah, buying a home isn't the hardest. It is just the preparation for it. And then it is did I pick a house that's going to have a whole bunch of problems? Or if I didn't, and it was really taken care of by its previous owners, you most likely won't have any major problems anytime soon in your house. So you may be okay. It's all dependent. Who constructed the home? Was it taken care of? Do you take care of houses? Some people think they take good care of property, and they don't. And they don't look up how to upkeep a property. Taking care of an apartment, and you have maintenance people that do that. You may have a cleaning company that helps clean your house. Taking care of a house is different. So just be prepared. It takes a little bit more responsibility, but it's not like super complicated, you guys. So again, thank you for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe to my channel. Share it if you want to. Please comment. Let's discuss this. If you have questions about home buying, I'll answer what I can. And yeah, just remember to stay rooted, stay grounded, and I'll see you soon.